The following contest is scheduled for one fall with a 60-minute time limit. Making their way down the aisle, Carlos, Mark, Nick, and Remy, the Entrance Ramp Podcast.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Entrance Ramp Podcast. I am your host, Nick Vega, alongside my co-host, as usual, Mark Lindsay.
Hey everybody, how are you today?
And Carlos Rodriguez.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
We're just going to do, a quick conversation piece. We missed last week. Wrestling's kind of bogged us down, so, we kind of felt like we needed to take a week off. Carlos was on vacation. I'm sure he'll tell us about that a little bit. And, we'll just talk about what's going on in pro wrestling. Before we got on air, I think the biggest story right now, because it happened today, was the call Vince McMahon had with the investors and pretty much, in my opinion, dodged questions. Gentlemen, you got any thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, how he continues to dodge questions, and then we, off air, kind of spoke, one of the biggest news to come out of here, and I don't know if it was reported specifically, but I read it from Meltzer that WWE, Mark, you mentioned they were supposed to make, 11 point something million, this quarter, and they made 43.7 or something this quarter. And, Meltzer attributed some of it to being, the Performance Center, the filming there, which that would cut a lot of costs, but look at, what could you guys think could be the issue with this? They're making money, almost hand over fist, and, they're cutting all these things. There's a free tier on the network now,
It's this. I'm sorry. I'm gonna breathe. This is why the Florida Marlins will be what they are. You make money even though you suck.
Yeah.
There's no incentive to be better. Mm-hmm. And I would say this, as much as I'm an old school guy, okay? I'm not old school just to be old school. I like old school wrestling. But I know that Vince McMahon is a genius. I know that he has people working for him that are very smart. The problem I have is that AEW is more competition for NXT. There is no competition for Raw or SmackDown yet. They're just not. And AEW could be that in the future. Their ratings seem pretty steady even through COVID.
They're talking about a second show.
I'm talking about there's no competition for Raw or SmackDown. Mm-hmm. NXT is the closest brand that I like of WWE's product. I like NXT the best. So there's no Monday Night Raw competition. And they don't have to be better. They can have 3 hours of boring programming because until Monday Night Football comes back, there's nothing that's going to beat it. And you know what? I'm going to get off topic, but I'm frustrated because the Florida Marlins are the team I chose. They make money and they put a shit team on the field. Name a football team. Who's a football team that has historically been bad? Okay, I mean,
the Redskins
or the Miami Dolphins recently, right?
Yeah.
So Redskins, I think they try to be good. They just suck. The Miami Dolphins.
I mean, since 1990.
The Miami Dolphins are pretty bad as well. But God, they make money. They make money hand over fist. While they're trying to get better too. So I give teams credit for trying. They just don't succeed. But WWE's not even trying, and they're making money. And it's like, I want to spite them, and I don't watch them to begin with, but I want to tell other people, don't watch them. They're making money whether you watch or not. It's
right.
I have become a bitter old man.
Well, that's what happens when you have a monopoly. For so long, they had a monopoly. They literally had no competition from 2008, or not even, from 2001 all the way to 2012. They really had no competition. Or even, I mean, I guess you could say 09, because honestly, TNA from 09 to 2012 was pretty good television. And they were fighting pretty well. They just made the mistake of trying to fight them head on. That was
right.
Yeah, that was their biggest mistake. We talked about that off air jokingly with all of us. But And you're bringing up a good point. I mean, to stay on this MLB train and the Marlins specifically, how frustrating must it be? Like if you're someone who loves the sport of baseball, and you get into a team like the Marlins, and you want to play, you want to do your best. There's no way you have to be. I'm assuming you're encouraged to just not do your best, to not succeed in any way, shape, or form. I mean, they've won how many World Series?
Two,
right?
Two.
Yeah,
they've won 2.
That's it. And
the crazy thing is, they won 2 World Series in like the first 10 years of their existence.
Yes.
97 and 03.
Yeah, like it was just they got the right draft pick. Listen, I don't know talking about the Marlins anymore because as you can see, we're all from Philadelphia and we're all very bitter about what they've done recently.
They screwed us, man, on that one. But and that's the same thing with wrestling. I mean, how many people who get into WWE and some flounder or some like, I want to do this, I want to do that, and then there's some old guy that's telling them, no, you can't do this.
Well, I was reading the comments of one article I was reading, and pretty much they made a point of having diversity. I have no idea who's on the writing team, but it doesn't seem like it's very diverse. Because if it was, I feel like the programming would be geared towards a different audience. I don't know what kind of audience WWE is trying to gear towards.
I'll tell you,
little kids.
One person, and he's 75 years old. That's it. That's who they're gearing towards, Nick. That's who it is. You're laughing. I'm not. That's not a joke.
I'm laughing so I don't cry.
Yeah, no,
that's
you're
not a joke.
Correct. What did we think was going to happen when SmackDown was going to Fox, right? Because at the time we knew that AEW was in the horizon, and that was already being touted as a still professional wrestling, but with a little bit of a real sports aspect of that, right? And we didn't get that first year. Like we're still on some weird growing pains with that. But with
it's
WWE,
much better than Raw. I will tell you that.
No, absolutely, yeah. No, AEW and NXT are better than Raw and SmackDown.
No. I'm saying SmackDown's better than Raw. Like, it's so bottom of the barrel. That's the problem. The Raw is the flagship. Raw is supposed to be the number one show. I don't care how you slice it. That's supposed to be the number one show. Yeah. And it is the worst show. I try to avoid watching Monday Night Raw, and it's my job is to watch it. And I don't know if I could do it half the time because it's so bad. Like there's shining lights. Like you have, your Aleister Blacks, your Kevin Owens, and obviously Drew McIntyre. But it's like everything else is just made along each week. It's very sad.
And how many times have we covered on the show that we hear like right before the episode airs? But it's like, nah, do something else. Nah, it's just boring. Like
speaking about the phone call, they asked him a specific question about Paul Heyman. They said, "Why did you fire Paul Heyman? You told us in quarter 1 that everything was going to be cool and you were going to take your time and let it grow." And he's like, "Oh, we're keeping him as on-air talent. He's always involved, blah 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 type of deal, but not really giving an answer on why he fired him." And it sucks because you could see you had your Ricochets and your Cedric Alexanders, and now they're just like some jobber tag team.
Yeah. Yeah, someone. There was literally a photo, and me and Mark are part of this kind of wrestling group. But someone screenshotted this thing on Twitter. It was said, "Name this trio," and it was Mustafa, Cedric, and Ricochet, and it said Job Squad 2.0. Yeah, and you know what? It's sad because those 3 people are uber talented, uber charismatic. And they're floundering on a 3-hour show, and like no matter of like putting titles on that show, like there's a 24/7 time. Who the hell cares? This shit is stupid. Like it's not getting which we would expect that it should.
Well, welcome to our TED Talk.
I know, yeah. And then going back to the SmackDown aspect of it, like covering SmackDown for our show, the first goddamn week there was dog food. I was talking about dog food on primetime television on Fox. We thought it was going to be more. What, Cain Velasquez showed up. God damn it. Kofi Kingston lost the WWE Championship that first. Like, are you kidding
5
me?
seconds, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't expect much from Fox, though. I mean, Fox is Fox.
Well, no, and then we hear the things that Fox wanted more. Fox wanted all this stuff. I mean, dog food was one thing. The second that Jeff Hardy threw piss in Sheamus's face, which I can't believe I'm saying that was an angle, and Fox was like, all right, enough. Like they got pissed.
They
Oh,
literally are
figured-
doing an alcohol like addiction storyline with Jeff Hardy. Like
Yeah.
they didn't learn from Animal or I'm sorry Hawk. They didn't learn from Hawk or any of their like past mistakes in alcoholism.
Or Tim White when they did that like alcoholic storyline on WWE.com, and then
The
he
Hell in
committed
Cell
suicide.
ruined his career.
And then he committed suicide multiple weeks.
Oh
He
my
tried to
God.
kill himself. Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
let's go back on that. But yeah, man, I don't know. And then I think the biggest disservice of this like kind of pandemic era of wrestling that we're seeing is Extreme Rules, the horror show. Which we did. We haven't covered, and I don't want to cover. Like
No, we're not covering that.
that Rollins Rey Mysterio match is a good match to the end, and thank God they went practical than CGI. That's the one thing I'll say about Vince McMahon. At least he pulled that trigger last minute. It was like, yeah, you know what? Let's just go practical, and let's just film like a fake guy and stuff like that. That's fine. And there's little things you see. They're like, oh, this seems like it's going to be interesting. When SmackDown, we talked about it off air. Big E is gearing up for a singles run. Something that
Ain't nothing happening with Big E.
Exactly.
Nothing's happening with Big E.
That's what my hope. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong because I
You're
would
not.
love to see that.
We
Yeah.
would love to, but it's not going to happen. They don't cater
Yeah.
to us. They don't cater to us.
No, and that's why it slaps us in the faces. It's a service to fans.
And let me
Like-
tell you something.
Yeah.
I'm gonna change subjects if you don't mind, Nick. Let
Yeah,
me tell you
sure.
who else let us down this week, which was AEW. I have been a big fan of AEW, and I will say this: they have had a lot more good shows than they had bad shows. But this past week was there was no Wednesday night markout. I didn't even finish watching Dynamite. I stopped about an hour and a half in, and I told you guys I watched Outlander with the wife.
Yeah.
The fact is that they are so close on so many angles and issues that they're so close to getting over the top and that next level, and then they just like chicken shit away from it. Last night, what drove me nuts, the best part of that show was MJF's promo where
Yep.
he challenged Moxley for the
Moxley.
world title. And it was a great promo because it was him being a heel. This wasn't a debate. This was just a promo straightforward.
Yep.
And we all kind of thought, okay, yeah, you know what? Maybe MJF does deserve a title shot. Then they have this whole angle, this whole issue where they're forcing the Young Bucks and FTR to team up. Why are they? Why don't they just give us? Are they trying to wait for fans? Is that what? Are they stalling before giving us what we want? Like I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say like I don't know. Like they've talked about like how a lot of their stuff is really long-term storyline building, but like the Dark Order storyline has seemed like the pause and now it's starting to restart again. FTR like they debuted. That was a big debut in a like fanless arena. So where are we going with that? Is that going to be an all out?
They
Is that
keep
what we're
teasing all outs in September. I mean, I guess it's only a month away, which is okay. But here's the thing. We talk on air and off air about AEW buying the rights to the Four Horsemen. We saw the tweets with Cody, whoever, Sean Spears, FTR.
Yeah.
And then they do this interesting thing with Adam Page and FTR. And it's like there's potential for that storyline to just be huge. Does Adam Page kind of side with FTR for the long term, or does FTR set up Adam Page to kind of like use their friendship to get a tag team title match? Like there's many different directions that they can go, and that's not one of the storylines that I'm worried about because I know it's going to deliver. But like Orange Cassidy and Chris Jericho, why are they continuing that? Like they had a great match a couple weeks ago. Why are they still? And that was the biggest problem I had with the show. Did you guys happen to see the promo with Inner Circle on the stage when Tony Schiavone was about to announce the tag tournament, which is happening in a couple weeks? Inner Circle comes out, and Jericho's orange juice stained shirt is even more orange than it was in weeks past because they realized that the lighting was so poor and you couldn't see it, so they had to embellish it more. I get it. It's TV.
Yeah.
It's wrestling. And then they had the stupid joke. Santana and Ortiz, a great tag team, and they are reduced to comedy bit players by telling Jericho that his coat smells like cat piss. Like, I get it. I'm not trying to be the old man who says, oh, wrestling can't be fun and I don't like... No, it can be both. It can be entertaining and it can be a sport. But that was just hokey. It was like, oh, come on. Like it was not... It was a dropped ball.
You can feel when a tag team is being shifted from being serious because their first night on the roster, serious, like thugs, like that's how they kind of were treating them, and I was fine with that. And now they're just like a goofball act, like you said. And it's sad, like they,
And their individual matches, I mean, they're coming off strong in their individual matches, like on Dark and things like that, building up wins and. Like I like the building up win storylines and those things are fine, but yeah, you're right. Like we have a similar problem on NXT as well, though, with the Undisputed Era. Like we don't know where they're going to be now, and now we have this.
They're in limbo.
The most interesting thing about the Undisputed Era was the Pat McAfee show.
Yeah,
if that was a shoot, which I don't think it was, I think that was a work.
No, it was a work.
And that's a great work. Don't get me wrong.
It was a great work. Entertaining. It was very entertaining. Yep.
A lot of people felt like were angry by it. I was like, hey man, listen, no, I thought that was good. It's a weird pivot to one of the greatest title runs in WWE history with Adam Cole.
But he can have a mental breakdown. You could spin that though. Like
it's just a weird pivot to go right to Pat McAfee, like a kicker. But
maybe he's looking for someone just to beat up on.
I thought that segment on his show was great. I like that they leaked the audio and stuff like that. Like they leaked the footage. I thought that was really smart, and it shows that like as much as we can, and this is fine that we can complain and criticize AEW and NXT because we expect a lot more from them, and we do get a lot from them. Don't get me wrong; they don't hold our hands as much as WWE proper does.
I expected a lot more, and we said this, and I'm just going to say this on there as well. I expected a lot more. I've said it once. I've said it a million times. This COVID era with empty arenas, and not even empty arenas, with their talent or their mid card in the fan and stands. This was the time to do unscripted promos. This was the time, like let's just go back. I mean, God, we're July 31st, okay? Mm-hmm. Let's go back to March when Angel Garza was being pushed. Austin Theory was being pushed. Kevin Owens was out. Seth Rollins was rising as a Monday Night Messiah. You had young talent that was making their way up, and they were being given proper TV time to get over. Yep. Those guys aren't even here anymore. Like they're losing, they're jobbing out. Their Austin Theory, I think, is related to the speaking out movement, so maybe he's not around. All I'm saying is that this was the time to try anything different, and they failed us.
Yeah.
And the ratings are down. If they had given us something, I don't want Attitude Era back. I don't want that. I thought the Attitude Era was overrated to begin with. There was some good, but a lot of it was bad. Yeah. I just want storylines that don't insult my intelligence. And I get that on NXT. I get that on AEW for the most part.
Yeah.
But this was a chance for Raw and SmackDown to... You can mix it. You can have the hokiness. You can have the Bray Wyatt Fiend or the Swamp Man, okay? You can have that with a good storyline. You don't have to just, it's so frustrating to me how this genius that is Vince McMahon just thinks that doing the bare minimum is going to work, and it doesn't. And they just dropped the ball because baseball's back for now. Yeah. Basketball's back, and basketball and hockey are going to be starting playoffs in 2 weeks. So that tells me they're fine. They're fine, but Raw and SmackDown aren't. Because what are you going to be watching, Nick? Are you going to be watching Flyers Penguins?
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
Yeah. No, for sure. I'm definitely going to be watching the Sixers, and I'm definitely going to be watching the Flyers if they're on during wrestling, unless it's NXT or AEW, because Wednesday night is wrestling night.
Yeah, Wednesday night is a wrestling night, and they both showed. And like we mentioned, like they don't hold our hand as much. And yeah, I mean, they don't do everything great. And this past Wednesday, I mean, you could say, at least to me watching, there was two segments that stuck out for me, and that was the TNT title defense, which I think every week has been solidly pretty good. Having Warhorse and showcasing him, if you know him from Indies and stuff like that.
I don't. I never heard of him until the other night. So.
And commentary did a really good job of like kind of talking him up, and
I could tell he had jitters though. He was like I could tell he was off with the timing.
And I marked out last week for Eddie Kingston. Seeing Eddie Kingston get a shot, 18 years in the business to get a shot on like last week, like that was awesome, man. That was
I will say the one thing I love about AEW is the little markers at the bottom when somebody enters the ring. Yeah. Like Adam Page, it was like last week the white wristbands didn't work out because like he last week he was wearing the white wristbands and it was like trying out the white wristbands for the first time. It's like little stuff like that I love.
Perfect. That does. I do love that, and then they play off some comedy stuff really well with Paige. But like, yeah, the TNT title thing has been always really good. We'll see where this
pull the trigger.
Yeah,
trigger on those storylines, man.
Yeah, man, I'm with you on that. Like, I don't know where. And then where does Matt Cardona like?
That was such a lackluster like.
I'll tell you what. I'm going to be fantasy booker here. Matt Cardona fits in with Shawn Spears. You're going to need guys to go against the Cody Rhodes-led Four Horsemen. And listen, the hints, I text you guys. I am the best 20 minutes every week for me is when Cody Rhodes or FTR are in the ring. Because I get the Four Horsemen figures. I get the Cody Rhodes who made the figure four leg lock his finishing maneuver and then woos when he does it.
Yep.
Awesome, right? I mean, come on.
No, I agree. And that was going to be my other segment. What was Paige and FTR, where they're finally signing their contracts for AEW, and
Arn Anderson shows up.
and like you could tell Shivani's like, wait, why is Arn here? Like, there's little things there that they keep hitting on, and then Paige coming in like, us Mid Atlantic boys gotta stay together, and it's like. There's something there. There's something just small
I'm
right
telling
there.
You, it's Paige, Cody, FTR. That'll be the Four Horsemen.
That's a great.
I'm okay with it. Yeah.
And like Mark said, Cardona and Spears can be two people who are going against them. There'll be a bunch of teams because you'll have the Elite. Because I'm calling it right now. Kenny Omega is going to be with the Elite. There'll be some narcissistic kind of group to go against Paige and the Four Horsemen. Because I kind of feel like the Four Horsemen will be good guys.
No way.
No, they have to be heels, man. They have to be.
Or they don't have to be heels. They can just be. Well, everyone can be gray.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, that's what I mean though. Like I feel like when the fans come back and they see the Four Horsemen, they'll love it for the nostalgia factor. Until they do some real heelish shit, like break someone's arm or something crazy.
Yeah, I'm with Mark when he's been speculating these past couple of weeks that Kenny's going to be the one who goes bad, and even so, he's been teasing it himself. Like today, he had an Instagram post.
Yeah, the throwback
Thursday of him with like the Sephiroth hair and the Bullet Club shirt. Like when he was leader, he was ruthless.
He literally put evil Kenny.
Yeah.
Like he is. Listen, that's the cleaner. That's what he's.
Exactly. I mean, look, if you watch, like Dick, I know you don't watch BT. Me and Mark do.
I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, when he. At the end of the one BTE episode, like Luchasaurus and I'm like, yo, say something to Marco, man. Like you're his hero. Like he looked up to you. Like go say something. And he walks away and calls him a pussy. He's like, yeah, you fucking pussy. Like, and he like laughs about it with a dumbass laugh. I'm like, we're gonna get the Terminator. Terminator. Like
I'm all for it. Yeah, I'm all for it.
I think it was easy for a lot of us to be like, oh, we're not getting the Kenny that if you watch in New Japan. And we're not getting that. We're not getting Bullet Club, Kenny, the cleaner, this best bout machine. And I think they knew that ahead of time. They were just letting everyone breathe, letting you get an MJF, letting you get a Page, like showing him off more.
I hope so, because that would be smart. If he did come in and he cleaned house, there would be no one to challenge him.
Yeah, and that's not even a disservice to Kenny. If he never held the world title, he's fucking IWGP heavyweight champion. You know, like he's that guy. He is the best bout machine.
Darby Allin's wrestling Moxley next week for the title.
Yeah, and that takes nothing away from these guys. Like there are some good segments here. And Mark, to wrap it back around to MJF, I think the best part of his promo was that it seemed truthful. The best villains tell the truth.
Well, they tell a version of the truth.
Yeah,
right.
Yes.
Yeah, the version of their truth.
Yeah, exactly. And that was such a great. I watched that promo 3 times.
Then Bleacher Report put up a thing where it was like dream match Miz versus MJF, and I'm like, you know what? Not a dream match. I don't know why they called it a dream match, but you know what? I can see MJF being like the Miz. Not obviously greater because I think he's learned so much in so little time. But you know, to Miz's credit, he's got a Hall of Fame resume. He's got all the accolades you could want. World champ.
And not to take anything away from Moxley, last night's promo for me sealed the deal that MJF gets the championship. He needs to get that championship at All Out. That pay-per-view needs to end with him holding the belt and putting that stamp. Like, this is a guy you look forward to for the future. That's it.
So now we're booking because I'm going to be a booker now because I'm taking over the show again.
Yeah.
So you're going to have the 4 Horsemen with Cody, Adam Page, okay,
I would put
and
Page,
FTR.
Yep.
So now MJF wins the title for Moxley.
Mm-hmm.
And you can still have Cody do the ultimate heel move, which is, "Hey, I'm CEO or
VP,
whatever, EVP.
Yeah.
I'm going to give myself a title match anyway." And then you can have, because The Rock was the biggest heel in wrestling until he became a babyface in '98, and you can have MJF be this arrogant asshole who's the biggest heel in the business, and if you build him up as the biggest heel. The biggest heels make the biggest faces. And you'll have MJF who can team up with Matt Cardona and Shawn Spears. And
that makes sense because, you know, in your mind as a fan, when you see somebody who's a mega heel turn face, you're like, that bad guy's going to help us? Oh, right. Snap. So
man.
You know, it's like when The Undertaker would turn from heel to face. You're like, oh, yeah, we got something going here.
Yeah, and he has, like, all the makings. Like, age aside, like, his in-ring work, his mic work are, like, top tier. And then you add his age, and you're like, wow, we got this guy for, like, another 20 years. Like, this is great.
But they have a lot of guys for the next 20. This is why I'm a little nervous about AEW. I'll tell you why. Because I haven't seen anything from Lance Archer. Brian Cage, again, one and done, got his title match. Okay, they're putting him with Ricky Starks, which I like that group. Don't get me wrong. But there's so many guys, there's so much talent in AEW that they're just it's the glass ceiling. They're not going to get to that next level. And it's like...
Yeah, there is a cusp. There needs to be... And I don't know if
Ortiz.
They
were hot and got to a ceiling, and then whoop, here comes FTR, here comes Butcher and the Blade, you know, like all these other tag teams. And
the tag team division, I mean, is really competitive. So I think they can play storylines that way.
3-man belt.
I was going to say that. I think they really actually do. I've been on the fence in the past, but they need to make a trios.
They have too many teams. The Dark Order has like 80 people. Like
Death Triangle.
We're literally getting a 6-on-6 tag match. I have no idea how that's going to work. Because first off, the refereeing is. I'm so sorry because they seem like nice people. They are so bad at being referees.
I'm glad you mentioned the referee because I'll tell you what. Mr. Jim Ross was one cranky son of a bitch on commentary the entire night. Listen,
bro, he don't give a shit anymore. I love it.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think he doesn't give a shit. I think it's storyline. I think he's been. Look, I love Jim Ross. He is the voice of my youth. 1989 NWA. I will never forget Jim Ross. Okay, I love the guy, but he has been Excalibur's gone. Okay, let's just call it what it is. He's gone, or at least he's
for a couple weeks at least. Yeah,
he better be because last night was so fresh. It was fresh having Taz and Shivani and Ross, but Ross was the heel. Like Ross was like, "Ain't nobody use the tag team ropes. Well, they're gonna bring that back and." We need a referee. What are they throwing their hands in the air for? He was making all these comments. If it doesn't end with a heel Jim Ross, I'm pissed because it's set up. Just fucking do it. Like, just do it.
That would be perfect for the Four Horsemen. He would be up their ass.
Their own personal announcer.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, man.
Listen,
look at FTR in their contract signing, right? When they were talking about the tag team, it was like, "Oh, you guys want to tag rope?" He's like, "Only for us.
Only for our matches, right?"
Yeah, only for our matches.
I will say I do love Taz and Jim Ross on commentary because he makes short jabs at him all the time about being short, and he catches them way before, and he's like, "Oh, you caught that?" He's like, "Yeah, I know all your tricks."
Dude, I mean, there is something special with like having Shivani, Ross, Excalibur, any of those, like that trio right there, like, and Taz, like, there is something special with the AEW, and like you're right, there's so many things that they're doing right, there's so many things that they're doing, but I think it's okay to be cautiously optimistic about their future and worry about them. We're almost on their first year of Dynamite. We're not even there yet,
right?
And
but I think now.
pandemic.
I think now is the time. If they were going to do that second show, it should be now. They have more talent there than they know what to do with, and there's a lot of talent that's just sitting there doing nothing, and that you can't have the same guys challenge Cody. I like the Cody Rhodes challenge because you're giving these guys who are out of work a shot on national TV. So then when wrestling does come back, hey, I remember that guy Warhorse. He challenged for the TNT title. Yep. That makes sense. That's good for wrestling as a whole. But there's so many, like I said, Lance Archer, Brian Cage. I'm a huge Brian Cage fan, and I didn't really start watching Brian Cage until AEW. There's so many talented wrestlers that are just there that they need a second show. They do.
Yeah.
And they need a second show.
Yeah, Dark being on YouTube is one thing, but it does need to be on TV. Like, I think, and that's going to be a difference maker. And you put it on a Saturday. You mentioned this before, Mark. Go old school. Put it on a Saturday night, man.
On TBS?
They got to fix the TBS. Yeah, that's perfect. They got to fix that women's division, too. I'm going to be honest. Every time, I love Sheeta, but every time she comes on, because that's pretty much the only matches they're promoting, I switch the channel to NXT and see what's going on there.
It had gotten so good about a month ago. Penelope Ford, Sheeta, Nyla Rose. You had Chris Statlander who got hurt, and then you had what's her name? Britt Baker got hurt. So, like the women's division about a month ago was really good, and now everyone got hurt, and it's like okay.
I wonder if they're holding off for that tag tournament, that women's tag tournament. That's what
the interesting thing about that too that I like is that nobody knows who their tag partners are. On Monday, they're gonna do a drawing and by color, and then your color with partnered up per color.
That was crazy to see Cameron. How about that? Right, that was a random she's been out of the game for a couple of years. I'll
be honest, I had no idea who she was. I had to look online, and they were like,
was so familiar. Right. I was watching Brian Zane on YouTube his wrestling his Wednesday Night Warfare, and he was like, "Hey, Cameron." I was like, "That is Cameron, isn't it?" Like, I totally forgot about that. And
don't worry, about 2 million other people did too.
Hey man, that's all her. She straight up dropped off the game. Like when WWE let her go, she's like, "Yeah, I'm good for a while."
I do want to give NXT a little bit of love for the fact that they're having this NXT North American title tournament coming up.
That's a great series.
So explain to me the Dexter Lumis match with Gargano and Finn Balor. Was it?
It was Finn Balor and oh god,
Damian Priest.
No.
It's literally last night. Why can't I remember this?
Yeah, I know. It's like I could see the face, but not really.
So that was a qualifying match. That wasn't.
Yeah, Thatcher.
That doesn't mean that the other two. Okay, Thatcher. So it doesn't mean that the other two won't get in the tournament, correct? Because there better be.
And that like all these people who lost, like someone's gonna get in.
There better be Thatcher and Balor in this match. There better be, because the North American title needs fresh blood, and these guys are over.
That is fair. How crazy is that we have a Dexter Lumis, a Bronson Reed, like people you didn't think they were going to be here, in this tournament, and like they're just like no, they're in the tournament, like, and it's an 8-man, right?
Yeah, I think it's 8.
This is before SummerSlam, right? The day before SummerSlam. Thank God on a Saturday.
Oh, so it's a one-night tournament. Like I said,
No, it's every week. It's just like the culmination will happen at Takeover
okay.
30. Like that I think it's an 8-man ladder match for the North American
See,
title.
I want.
Yeah,
Look,
yeah.
I'm a fan of King of the Ring. I want a one-night tournament back, man. I want
Man.
one night. Let's see these guys wrestle 3 times. Let's do it.
I'm gonna mark out for this one. Yeah, I want King of the Ring back, and I think Xavier Woods needs to be on it. If you follow him on any social media, man, that man was bummed out, man, when they did King of the Ring just recently. That for like one night special on the network, and he was not even in the brackets. He like literally put a video up of him just like fake crying in the corner. He's like, "That's fine. I never wanted to be king," and like footage of like him talking on like random like video game shows. Be like, "What's the one thing you can do in wrestling that you ever do?" Is like, "I want to be a king. I want to be king of the ring." And then Baron Corbin freaking becomes king of the ring.
Oh,
Who's a
God.
very nice man online.
Who's a very nice man.
He is. He's a very nice gentleman. He really liked my tweet toward him.
So I guess for final thoughts, what I guess for this, since it's pretty much over for wrestling being the only show in town,
Yeah.
what is the one thing you did enjoy this whole COVID situation so far, that wrestling did put out? He's like nothing.
No. I'll be fair. Go ahead, Carlos.
I'm gonna go with the majority of the scripted matches, like meaning like the videotape kind of special, like the what was AEW's? It was called. It was the Stadium Stampede.
Stampede.
Yeah.
I thought that was
good.
amazing. Not going to say it's a match or not a match. Boneyard, that was cool. I love the feed segment from WrestleMania. I thought that was genius.
I did.
The
love
swamp
it.
match, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great. It was
Very
a little
forgettable.
lackluster. Yeah, which is the sad thing about that show. It's not terrible when you have all these terrible things that happen. But like,
WWE production, they flex their muscles. I'll tell you that much. They
I
do a
think
great job.
having Borash was a great thing, and then AEW's response with the Stadium Stampede and all these little things, man. Recently, that Butcher and Blade Young Bucks match, because that was kind of like one of those like tape, like let's go crazy, and they started in like the Butcher room and all this stuff. Things like that. I think for overall during this pandemic era, have been done pretty well. And the only one I would probably say doesn't look great was Impact stuff. I've called some of their pre-tape like random like fight in a bar for no reason. It doesn't look great.
They're still around? Okay.
Yeah,
Mr. Champ, Eddie Edwards.
Yeah, again, yeah.
I talked about that on another podcast I'm on. Whatever.
Yeah.
I'll say this. The one thing I'll take away is AEW.
Yeah.
And that is because they started out in this feud, the Wednesday Night War that we call it. I don't think they call it that. You've gotten the Demo God, which he needs to relax on that. But AEW has stayed strong in the fact that they have been pretty up there. You know, they didn't win every week, but they won most of them. And they're doing it with no audience. The storylines have been good. We didn't get the War Games match or the Blood and Guts match. We got Stadium Stampede. So they were able to put a pause on the two big factions. AEW has done a solid job with their shows. They're doing the one live, the one taped. It's a good balance. You're keeping your wrestlers fresh from A, injury, and B, COVID. So I give them positive credit for that. What I want to see from them going forward is pulling the trigger on some of these big angles. We mentioned it earlier. We know the Four Horsemen are coming. You're telling a great story, but let's speed it up a little bit, Don't save it for All Out or save it for March when fans could possibly be back. You have people like us who are watching now. Give us something now to appreciate.
Yeah.
But other than that, I will say AEW as a whole, Nick, because again, they have done a solid job of making good shows for the most part. Even though this past week wasn't that great, their shows have been solid for the most part.
So I've been ragging on Monday Night Raw since we started this whole thing, and rightfully so, because it's 2 hours and 30 minutes of garbage. And for that 30 minutes, I will say during this whole COVID situation, there have been two shining stars in the whole business: Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton. And the number one thing about the two of them that separates them from everybody else on the show is freedom. The fact that they could say and do whatever they please. And what that means to me is Drew McIntyre is way funnier than I ever had any thought he would be, because he says whatever he wants to say and he looks cool doing it. That's what you want from a face.
Yeah.
And then Randy Orton's the opposite. He is the snarky, slimy heel who says whatever he wants to say and is dangerous. And he looks like he's gonna RKO Ric Flair half the time. Like,
Yeah, like you don't trust him. Yeah.
yeah, you don't trust him one bit. But that's good, and that's exactly why, if the plans are, SummerSlam, that's what's supposed to be. I mean, he RKO'd him this week on Raw, so it seems like that's the plan. I don't know if they're gonna give the belt to Orton, because it seems like McIntyre is doing a great job being champ, but both of them have done an amazing.
Yeah, it's not.
job.
And it wouldn't be like a terrible. It wouldn't be a terrible
I
loss
don't
because
care what happens.
I assume McIntyre will win it back at some point. Like if he were to lose it at SummerSlam, but I think I think they're both made men. Especially that's not the sad surprising thing, but like, it's good to see that McIntyre is the made man. We were worried a little bit there, beginning when he was on Raw after NXT, and it was looking a little sketchy for a year. And now, I mean, he has that
Rumble,
rocket.
It clicked.
Since Rumble, yeah, man.
Since Rumble, it just clicked.
And we're seeing something special with him, and he's the weird outlier that they're not insulting our intelligence with him.
Right.
On a main WWE show, and that's
because he still gets hurt. I mean, he was cocky, wasn't paying attention, got RKO'd. I appreciate that.
He's
But at the same
believable.
time,
He's strong.
He's not a bitch. He don't back down from people. Like I don't see him backing down from
The past 2 years, those have been the two surprising things: is how strongly him and Kofi have been booked as WWE champion these past 2 years. Kofi ended terribly. Hopefully, Drew doesn't end that bad.
No, I don't think. I think Drew. I think first off, Vince loves dudes that are buff, and Drew McIntyre is ripped, so he's gonna be like, okay.
Then why is he Slater on Impact Wrestling?
Because he got cut for that $43 million check.
There we go. And we looked it all around.
Yeah. So that's all I got for tonight,
well,
guys.
you know what? That's all we got, because Nick, we're going to continue this next week. Maybe we'll be in a little bit better mood next week, but we've all kind of just ho-hum through this episode. I did anyway. I'm not going to speak for you guys. I ho-hummed.
I think it was a good episode. I think it's good. I think it was needed.
I just think wrestling is very somber at the moment.
It is. Well, COVID's somber. COVID is somber, and that's making my wrestling somber. So it's not the wrestling that's bad. It's that baseball. The friggin' Marlins screwed us up, okay?
Monday Night Raw is bad.
Okay, but wrestling's a contact. You're touching people constantly. Baseball's a non-contact sport, and you just ruined 3 teams, the Yankees, the Marlins, and the Phillies, for this past week because of COVID. It's just crazy. I'm sorry. I'm going to go off again. Guys, another episode, great episode. I mailed it in, but you guys pulled the weight, so thank you. I appreciate it. Until next time on the entrance ramp, Carlos, I'm Mark, that's Nick, and we will see you next time. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.